Well, there's a stay there because we've got Ivan McKee, who's the SNP MSP for Glasgow Proven, who actually got in touch with the show this morning, having heard, I think, one of the trails. So, Ivan, good morning.
Good morning, Kaye.
Good morning, and thank you for doing that. You're a passionate supporter of driverless technology, is that right?
Well, I think the situation is, and we had a debate, I led a debate on this in the Scottish Parliament just last week. The reality is they're going to happen. Now, as you heard from your futurologist, we're not sure exactly when, but sometime in the next number of years, these things are going to happen. And what we should be doing now is having a debate about what we need to do to make the most advantage of them. How do we deal with the situation with people losing their jobs? How do we create new industry to replace those? How do we design our cities so we don't have miles of parked cars everywhere? How do we design our infrastructure? And what do we do to make sure that these driverless vehicles are accessible by everybody? And you heard the women from the RNIB coming on and talking about the impact on blind people, and the same will happen to elderly people that are getting frail, disabled people, etc. They could become a great positive social force, but we need to manage it and not let them manage us.
But does it have to be an inevitability? I mean, because you get, the major brains in San Francisco or wherever across the world who are coming up with this stuff, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to introduce it. I mean, if you look at it, and as you say, Ivan, it's very wise, clearly, to look at the impact of technology like that. You might, at the end, think, well, it's a lovely idea, for people who are into that kind of stuff. But in terms of the way that our society works, it actually is not going to be a benefit to us. I mean, Paul, giving the example as an HGV driver with experience, he just doesn't see how it's going to work in real life.
I think the reality is that the technology and the cost will drive the adoption of it. I mean, most people now are quite happy to fly, and we don't like aeroplanes. But 50, 60, 70 years ago, they were in the same situation as driverless cars are. The technology was there, but it wasn't adopted widely. I mean, back when people first started driving automobiles, people said they'll never take over from the horse and cart. But of course, the reality is they do, because they'll be much cheaper, much safer, much more efficient. And that's the way the technology is going to go.
Can you see an area in Scotland that it might be trialled in? Because presumably, there will be trial areas. Was Aberdeen not quite far forward with this? Were they not talking about driverless buses a while back?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd like to happen, and I made this point to the government ministers during the debate, I think the Scottish Government needs to come forward with some plans to have a serious look at this and figure out how we can take advantage of it. I think the best way to do it would actually be in a city centre environment, where, and already you're talking about low emission zones in cities. It could perhaps be that the next step on that is a move towards driverless cars in city centres, and that would allow the technology to take off. As I say, I think Scotland needs to get at the forefront of this technology. We need to be in the driving seat, if you'll excuse the pun, rather than wake up one day in 10 or 15 years and say, wow, that's happened and it's causing us serious problems. If we get in first on this, it could be a huge economic advantage to Scotland. It could put us in a very, very good place. But if we sit back and wait, then it could take advantage of us, and we could be scrambling about in 10 or 15 years trying to figure out how we create jobs for the people that have lost their jobs as a consequence.
Sure. Ivan, thank you very much. Ironically, we have to go to travel, but it's a good question you leave us with. How does Scotland get ahead of the curve, sorry about that, with driverless cars? 08085 92 95 00. Anne-Marie, good morning.
Good morning.